I was driving home from work last night, just completely fried out of my brain, listening to the deafening hum of the engine as I'm on the motorway. Do you ever have one of those days at work where you're so cooked that you can't even be bothered to listen to music? Anyway, the sort of sound that only seems to exist when you're driving at home alone and your brain is aggressively refusing to shut down. So I'm just driving there, taking in the markings of the road as I'm driving back home for 40 minutes straight. And I think about how I spend my evenings, how I just lay in bed, bathed in the blue light of my phone, home completely numb from scrolling reels for however long after I get. I think the other night I watched a guy build an entire underground swimming pool out of mud and then immediately watched a 12-part series on how seed oils are destroying my testosterone or whatever. And it sort of just hit me while thinking in the car, like a physical punch to the chest, how incredibly quiet my life has got. Just aggressively silent. And I don't mean the good kind of quiet, like sitting on a mountain or some peaceful Zen BS. I mean that weird, hollow post-grad quiet. Feels exactly like sitting in a gaming lobby after all your friends have logged off for the night and you're just staring at their offline names, knowing you probably aren't going to play with them again for like 6 months. You just sit there, sort of soaking it in a little bit, realizing that the server is completely empty and it's just you. It's exhausting, man. It's so unbelievably draining. And I don't think we talk about the actual physical toll it takes on you to go from the way we used to live to the way we live right now. Because think about it. Think about the absolute golden age of your social life. For most of us, that was high school or college, right? And the thing you don't realize when you're in it, the thing that makes it so goated, is that your entire social life was completely 100% passive. You didn't have to do anything. You didn't have to try. The meta for making friends back then was literally just exist in a room. That was it. You just had to physically occupy space. You had the ultimate proximity book. You lived in a dorm room with 50 other idiots who were all just bored and as broke as you were. You'd walk down the hall to use a communal bathroom that smelled like stale beer and despair, and you'd accidentally run into three of your best friends, make a joke, end up sitting on their disgusting futon for 4 hours playing FIFA or Call of Duty, and suddenly you have a core memory. You didn't have to schedule it. You didn't have to send out a calendar invite. You just spawned in the same location every day. You could be the most awkward introverted dude on the planet. You didn't need to be some charismatic Chad, and you still would have a social circle just by the sheer undeniable force of forced proximity. The environment did all the heavy lifting for you. It was so easy. And then you graduate. Simulation just abruptly unplugs. The server shuts down. Like Warzone 1.0 going to Warzone 2. And they drop you into the real world, which is basically just this incredibly isolating, sprawling, hyper individualized nightmare where suddenly, for the first time in your entire life, your social life transitions from being passive to being completely active. And that transition, that switch from passive to active, that is the exact thing that is crushing your soul right now. Because nobody warned us that keeping friends in your 20s and 30s requires the exact same logistical bandwidth as running a mid-sized logistics company. I'm dead serious, man. Trying to get three guys together just to drink a beer on a Thursday night feels like you're trying to organize an international peace summit or a group holiday. It's actually mentally frying me how hard it is. You send a text, right? Hey boys, we should link up this week. And then the dance begins. The awful, soul crushing scheduling dance. One guy is like, oh man, I'm super slammed this week. Maybe next Tuesday. And then the other guy is like, Tuesday I have my pickleball league that I pretend to like. What about the next Saturday? And then half your friends don't even reply. And then you realize the following Saturday is a month away. And by the time that Saturday actually rolls around, everyone is completely fried from their corporate jobs. And you all mutually agree to cancel at 4 p.m. for a rain check because everyone would rather just sit in their sweatpants and stare at a wall or have their own plans with their girlfriends or their own families. When you think about it, it is pathetic. We're all just collectively flaking on each other because the activation energy required to leave the house has gotten so astronomically high. And part of the reason that activation energy is so high is because your baseline dopamine is just completely shot to pieces before you even clock out of work. We are spending our absolute prime energy on absolute garbage. You wake up, right? You immediately look at a screen, you drag yourself to the office, or you log onto Teams in your kitchen, and you spend 8 to 10 hours engaging in this fake, sanitized corporate performance art. You're sitting in meetings pretending to care about Q3 deliverables, sending emails that just say circling back on this and per my last email. And you're having these agonizingly shallow conversations in the break room about a coworker's golden doodle. By the time 5 p.m. hits, your social battery isn't just empty, it has been actively corroded. You've spent all your conversational currency acting like a well adjusted corporate drone. So when it comes time to actually be a human being, to go out and see your actual friends, your brain is just throwing error codes. You don't want to talk. You don't want to perceive anyone. You just want to retreat to your little apartment cave, fire up the PlayStation, or doom scroll until your eyes burn, because that requires zero emotional output. Don't even get me started on dating apps. Talk about a completely broken mechanic. If the isolation of adult friendships is bad, the isolation of modern dating is legitimately a psychological horror game. You're swiping through hundreds of faces on a screen while you're sitting on the toilet treating human beings like they're items in an Amazon cart. You match with somebody, you send a message, or you get ghosted, or worse, you have a 3 day conversation that consists entirely of how was your day? Good. Yours? Good. It's entirely transactional. It strips all the humanity, all the serendipity out of meeting someone and replaces it with an algorithm designed to keep you addicted and insecure. You go on a date and it feels like a job interview at a coffee shop. You're sitting there analyzing their posture, trying to figure out if they have any red flags, mentally calculating how much you're spending on these $12 lattes, and the whole time you're just thinking, man, I'm so incredibly tired. I'm so tired of performing. I just want to sit on the couch with someone and not have to be on. But you can't, because in the active social era, every interaction feels like a high stakes performance where you have to prove your worth. So naturally, you start feeling this void. You feel the isolation creep. You feel your nervous system constantly sitting at this low level home of anxiety, because humans are literally biologically not meant to live in little isolated boxes staring at glowing rectangles all day. We are pack animals. We are supposed to be sitting around a fire complaining about the weather and throwing rocks at things. That is our factory setting. And when you ignore that factory setting for long enough, your brain starts to panic. This is exactly the absolute worst part of the internet swoops in. This is where the toxic self-help culture catches you. You're sitting there feeling lonely, so you go to YouTube or TikTok looking for answers. And suddenly you are bombarded by these hyper-optimized, dead-eyed hustle bros telling you that your problem is you aren't maximizing your social portfolio. They start using all this clinical, terrifying language. They tell you to build your network and audit your circle and find your tribe of high-value individuals. Ugh. They want you to treat making friends like you're making money, like you're building a business. It is absolute lunacy. They're telling you to track your heart rate variability, do a cold plunge at 4 a.m. so you can have the optimal cortisol levels to go out and crush a networking event. Bro, if you are calling a group of guys you drink beers with your high value network, you are utterly lost in the sauce. You are gone. That is the quickest way to guarantee you will be miserable and alone forever. Because what that self-help garbage does is it takes the one thing that is supposed to be a refuge from the hyper-competitive modern world, human connection, and it turns it into another metric you have to optimize. It turns friendship into a hustle, or the corporate world. Oh, you're feeling isolated? Just join a high-ticket mastermind group for $3,000 a month. Oh, you want to meet a girl? Just follow this 70-step alpha male protocol and optimize your jawline with a piece of rubber. It's cooked. It makes you feel like if you don't have a perfectly curated squad of millionaire entrepreneurs who all wake up at 5 a.m. to talk about crypto, you're somehow failing at life. It is a trap. It is a massive, exhausting trap designed to sell you supplements and courses, and it only pushes you further into isolation because it makes you view every social interaction as a transaction. You start looking at regular, normal people and thinking, what value does this person bring to my life? Instead of just thinking, hey, this guy's kind of funny. Let's grab a slice of pizza. We have completely lost the plot. We've lost the ability to just hang out, to just exist in a space where other people, without an agenda, without a plan, without trying to extract some sort of actionable value from the interaction. So how do we actually fix this? How do we break out of this crushing isolation without losing our minds, returning into a weird, hyper-optimized networking robot? I'm going to break this into probably two buckets. First, we'll call what the normies do. And then the second, what the professionals do. What the normies do is simple. You have to aggressively lower the stakes. You have to stop trying to construct the perfect social life and go back to caveman logic. Our ancestors didn't have scheduling apps. They didn't even have Google Calendars. They just walked out of the cave and whoever was sitting by the river, that was who they hung out with. What am I even trying to say? Obviously, we can't exactly do that, but we can mimic the vibe. You have to do the bare minimum to get your physical body back into the physical world without putting the pressure of making friends on it. I'm telling you right now, stop trying to orchestrate these massive perfect nights out. Stop trying to round up 8 guys for a perfectly timed dinner. Start doing things that require zero coordination and zero expectations. Become a regular somewhere. Now, I don't mean some flashy club. I mean the most mundane places on earth. Go to the same coffee shop every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. Don't go there to network. Go there. Sit at the counter. Read a physical book, like an actual book made of paper, not a screen, and just drink your coffee. Don't look at your phone. Let yourself be bored. Let yourself just exist in a room full of people where you don't have to talk to anyone, but you are physically present. You are re-establishing a proximity buff in your own life. You will start recognizing the barista. You will start recognizing the other weirdos who are there on a Tuesday morning. You don't even have to become best friends with them, but just exchanging a nod with another regular human being is enough to tell your primitive caveman brain, okay, we're part of a village. We're not alone. Then, next stage. You need to physically move heavy things and sit in the sun. I know I've beaten this point home 10 times over, and it probably sounds like I'm trying to sell you a testosterone supplement, but I am dead serious. When you are feeling that deep, crushing adult isolation, your body is in a state of stress. Your nervous system is fried from staring at blue light, sitting in a weird gremlin posture in your desk chair, absorbing the collective anxiety of the internet. You have to break the physical loop before you can mix the mental one. Did I say mix? I meant to say fix. Go outside, find a patch of grass, take your shoes off if you have to, and just sit in the sun like a lizard on a rock. Let the actual radiation from a giant fireball hit your skin. It is the most grounding anti-hustle thing you can possibly do. It costs zero money, zero optimization, and zero social power. Then go lift something heavy. Go to a gym. Just do push-ups in your living room until your arms give out. When you physically exhaust your body, you quiet the part of your brain that is tweaking about how many texts you haven't answered, or you don't have plans for Friday night. You just become a biological organism that is tired and needs food. It simplifies the equation. And when it comes to your actual friends, the ones you're struggling to see, stop asking them to do higher effort activities. Stop proposing dinners that require reservations and a $50 taxi. Text your buddy and say, hey man, I'm going to be sitting on my porch on Sunday afternoon, having a coffee and doing absolutely nothing. Come over or don't. Door's unlocked. You have to remove the friction. You have to make hanging out passive again. Invite people into your mundane life instead of trying to create an event. If you have to run to the hardware store to buy a light bulb, ask a buddy to ride shotgun. That's the secret. That is how you survive the active social year. You find ways to make it passive. You stop trying to create the perfect experience and you just let people ride along for the boring stuff. Because the boring stuff is where actual friendship lives. It's not at the networking events. It's in the passenger seat of a car on a Tuesday night, listening to the radio, eating a Burger King while having a chat. You don't need a tribe of high value individuals, man. You just need a couple of guys who will sit on the couch with you, watch a terrible movie, without making you feel like you have to entertain them. You need to give yourself permission to stop optimizing. If you spend your whole weekend just chilling, reading a book, getting some sun, maybe texting one person a dumb meme, that is a successful weekend. You don't have to win at having a social life. It's not ranked competitive mode. You can just play casual. Look, the transition from being surrounded by people 24/7 to suddenly being adrift in your own apartment is brutal. It hits everyone, even me. And nobody talks about how much it actually hurts. We just pretend that we're all so busy and important when really, we're all just a little bit lonely and incredibly tired. But the moment you realize that everyone else is just as fried as you, the pressure drops. You don't have to fix it overnight. Just take a breath. Put your phone down and stop treating your life like a project that's behind schedule. Be the relaxed guy. Be the guy who isn't tweaking about the meta. The world is loud enough. You don't need to add to the noise. Just find your little patch of sun, invite a friend to do absolutely nothing with you. Let that be enough. See you then.